G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life. And this is the sketchiest car I've ever bought. And believe me, I've bought some dodgy cars before. My Accord UR had an unfathomable amount of beer bottles, filthy clothes, vapes and general rubbish littered throughout the interior, and the previous owner drove it like this. Our ex-police Commodore had a restraining order and various police paraphernalia littered throughout, and I recently cleaned up another Accord on my Instagram which had so much crap in it that by the time I cleared it all out, the car genuinely felt faster from the weight saving. But this Mazda 3 is so dodgy that it might get me put in prison. It began its life as a rental car and racked up 40,000 kilometres in just 2 years. And it then went through 3 different owners over the course of 6 years before somehow getting stolen. Thieves these days are either really clever or really dumb because they somehow managed to steal it, but without breaking any of the windows or the ignition barrel. And they didn't take anything inside because it's still littered with garbage. But they obviously got caught because the car was dusted for fingerprints and has been recovered. But either way, the previous owner clearly didn't want it, and so it got put up for auction.
So far as I could see, the only issues were that the WAF and registration were expiring in a few weeks. It was on the space saver, but the actual front wheel was sitting in the boot. It didn't have any plates on it because they had been stolen. It looked like a lot of the surfaces had been sanded, but of course that later turned out to be police powder dusting for fingerprints, and naturally it was pretty filthy inside and out. So fix the puncture, update the WAF, clean it up, and it's good to go, right? Time to get bidding.
Right, budget of 9 grand, 2016 Mazda 3 with a few issues. Come on. Oh, go away. Still going. 9 grand. Oh, I just bought it. Oh, I didn't even notice. Well, I bought it. I paid way too much for it. And I'm not really sure that I want it. But anyway, let's go to Auckland and pick the darn thing up.
And rather hilariously, they bought this fairly new Mazda out to me on a forklift.
Bro, I had the keys, I offered it to him, and he's bringing it on a fucking forklift. First question is, will it start? It will! That's the first time I've ever had a car delivered to me on a forklift.
But with the money paid and it starting and driving just fine, I packed it up and wandered to the VTNZ to get some new number plates. Without any bolts to hold them on, I had to dodgily jam them in the grille and the back window before heading around the corner to a local Repco to buy some plate bolts. Then I took it to a local tyre shop to get the puncture repaired, and with the new wheel on, they checked the whole thing over, said it was all in good shape, and I hit the road back to Wellington.
Despite the fact that it had been written on by a 4-year-old with a pink pen, and it looked like it had been crashed into a local bakery given how much police powder was all over the outside, which certainly didn't make for a particularly dignified drive home, it was comfortable. It had decent power for overtaking, Bluetooth for my music, a reversing camera, and cruise control for the open road. Having never owned a Mazda before, the Atenza rebuild I showcased last week and this Mazda 3 have definitely proved that they've got a solid product. So what's actually wrong with it? Well, fortunately, not a lot to be honest. I took it down to my old workplace Honda once I got the car home and it flew through a WAF with no issues whatsoever. I topped up the registration by another 6 months. I did get the wheels rebalanced because I noticed at about 100 k's an hour they were a little bit wobbly, and because the car was complaining it was due, I got a service done. But other than that, it's really just cosmetics. Naturally, with all of the police powder all over it, it needs a solid wash. There appears to be 2 little plastic pieces missing from the bumper. There's a rather unusual series of patterned scratches here on the back door, and the rear bumper has clearly been backed into at some point too. The first job though is to start clearing all this crap out of it. Table tennis bat in here? Goodness me. And now it's time for the Kiwi Car Life rendition of what I believe took place when this car got stolen, based purely on the things and items that I found in the car. And I'll see if you agree. They were clearly keen on doing some dodgy stuff, whoever owned this previously, based on whatever that is that I found in there. And they obviously didn't earn much because they only had $1 to their name. So they probably couldn't afford dinner, which might explain why there was a fishing hook in there. But unless they're going to use that little 30cm USB cable that I found, I highly doubt that they would have been catching much. Which might explain why the car got stolen. Mind you, there was nothing much in there that was worth stealing, apart from perhaps what I found later on. They clearly tried to fend them off with these tennis bats, but when that didn't work, the car got taken and they used these Nurofen pain relief tablets to cure themselves of the inevitable bruises and cuts that they got after being mauled by 2 South Aucklanders. And trying to calm down again afterwards, they smashed down 2 packs of cigarettes, and then when they didn't have a car, used the Auckland Transport Hop card to get around on the probably late Auckland bus. And then to really calm down, They use some roll your own cigarettes, and I'm going to have to blur what I'm showing next, to use up some of these. I still find it baffling that the New Zealand police searched the car and yet they didn't find that. And no, to all the drug addicts watching this, you can't have it.
So, with the risk of a drug charge avoided, it was time to clean the rest of the interior. After tidying up the boot trims that were tossed around, I started vacuuming. Using a trick I learned from the comments section of the Legacy video, I used a sander to vibrate all of the sand and dust to the surface of the carpet, which worked pretty well. And fortunately, Mazda carpet is a lot easier to clean than the Legacy and Commodore carpet I had to clean in the last few videos. And after a few hours vacuuming, I doused all of the disgusting plastic surfaces in citrus cleaner and scrubbed it all down with a toothbrush before wiping it off. Now, annoyingly, the weather this week in typical Wellington fashion wasn't great, but I managed to find enough of a break in the showers to get outside and quickly wash the exterior. I cracked into clearing off all of the police powder, the writing on the windows, spiderwebs, and road grime. The wheels came up nice after giving them a solid scrub with some wheel acid, and then I fully clay barred the exterior as usual. And after a solid amount of work, it was looking a heap better than it did when I first picked it up. And so, the stolen Mazda 3 has been restored to its former rental car glory, complete with piano casters for wheels and sponge tyres, giving it a delightfully comfortable ride, non-automatic halogen headlights with no fog lights reminding you that it's the base model, and twin exhausts writing checks that the freshly serviced torqueless 2-litre engine can't cash. It's ready to set a new record for the most amount of different people behind the wheel. But at least the interior is now clean, and everything, including the base air conditioning knobs, infotainment featuring Bluetooth, reversing camera and parking sensors, and the multifunction steering wheel with cruise control, works flawlessly. And this car's best feature is the Sport button. Unsurprisingly, given this car's rental car roots, it has been pressed so many times that the button has started to wear out, and I'm going to press it again, knock the 6-speed auto over into manual mode, and let's see what this base model 2-litre Mazda 3 does. Honestly, not bad. It's very smooth. It's not too loud, it's certainly not offensive, and the transmission, while there's a bit of delay from when you actually hit the lever down here to when it actually upshifts, when it does upshift, it upshifts pretty quickly. And it rev matches flawlessly, even right down into first gear. And it scoots along pretty well. The only problem with it, and this could be solved if you went for the 2.5 one, because of course this is the base 2-litre, is it's just too torqueless. Honestly, a turbocharged CVT is a lot easier to use than this. This one, you're waiting for the transmission to shift down to give you some power, whereas a turbo CVT like what Honda offers, and like the Civic for instance, yeah, it's not necessarily as good to a car enthusiast, but when you put your foot down it, you just ride a wave of torque rather than waiting for the power to not really turn up in a car like this. Despite the perhaps old-fashioned driving experience compared with a lot of its competition, it's still great. Steering feel, brilliant. Handles beautifully on a road like this, even in the rain. Very predictable what the front end does. It's just a confidence-inspiring car, and it's fun. There's a reason why Mazda's slogan is zoom zoom. You knock it down to first gear, put your foot down, and it's just fun. It's a fantastic drive. So, Mazda 3 is complete. If you like the look of this car, hit me up on Kiwi Car Life Autos. I'd love for it to go to a good home, someone who's going to enjoy it as much as I do, and I will very much look forward to seeing you again next time.